Hey guys, so my friend asked me something yesterday that I think a lot of you are probably wondering about too. She was like, Bushra, I have been doing the inner work for years: therapy, healing, shadow work, journaling, breath work, cacao ceremonies, with the intention to attract a new reality. But I am still attracting the same situations, the same type of people, the same problems. What is it that I am doing wrong? And honestly, this question broke my heart because I have been there. We've all been there, right? And that is why I'm recording this video, because realizing and making this shift I'm about to share changed everything for me. So I have spent years of fixing myself, like years of understanding my patterns, healing my trauma, working on my triggers. I could tell you exactly why I attracted unavailable people, why I struggled with money, why I always felt anxious. But knowing all of this was not changing anything in my life. And then I had this moment where I caught myself and I asked myself, if I have done all this work, why is it that I'm still living the same reality? And that is when it hit me, because I was changing everything but my parameters. So I want to share this with you because if you're feeling stuck, like my friend or like me before, this might be exactly what you need to hear. Okay, so let me tell you about a moment where everything clicked for me, because I think you will relate to this. I was sitting somewhere, I was super frustrated. Like, I remember thinking, I do all this inner work, but why is nothing really changing for me? I understand all my attachment style. I knew my core wounds. I had processed my childhood trauma, but I was still attracting the same energy. I was still struggling with the same patterns. I was still living in the same reality. Like I was trying to heal myself out of everything, but I couldn't. I felt like I was stuck. And then I realized something that's completely changed everything for me, because I was trying to fix myself to fit into a reality I didn't even want. I was healing my issues so I could finally accept breadcrumbs. I was working on my triggers so I could tolerate being treated poorly. I was processing my trauma so I could stay small and safe. So I wasn't really changing my reality. I was trying to fit in the small reality I was already in. But what if the problem wasn't me? What if the problem was what I was accepting as my normal? What if instead of fixing myself to fit into that small reality, I needed to change my parameters for what I allow in my reality? And this is when I started to look at people who are actually living the life I kind of wanted. Not the people who were just talking about healing and growth. I was just looking at people who were just being really content with where they were in their life. And do you know what I discovered? They had completely different parameters. And I was like, boom, I got it. So let me explain what I mean with those parameters, because this is going to change how you see everything. At least it did that for me. Okay, so your parameters are the invisible rules you have about what's possible for you, what is acceptable, what you deserve, what is normal in your reality. Most people, you know what they do? They inherit their parameters from their family, their culture, their past experience. And then they spend years trying to heal themselves to fit into those inherited limitations. This is exactly what I did. But here is what I want you to realize. You can change those parameters. You can decide what exists in your reality and what doesn't. It is that simple. Let me give you my examples. It doesn't exist in my parameters to work for a boss anymore. It doesn't exist in my parameter to sacrifice my time for someone else's dream while mine sits waiting. It doesn't exist in my parameters to accept it being treated with disrespect. It doesn't exist in my parameters to shrink myself to make others feel more comfortable. And when I say it doesn't exist, I don't mean I am in denial. I mean I have decided that this is not my reality I am created. This is not what I am available for anymore. But here is where it gets real. Changing your parameters is scary because you're going to go against everything you've been conditioned to accept as your new normal. People told me that I was unrealistic when I said I wouldn't do a 9 to 5 job anymore. They said I was too picky when I decided that I wouldn't accept half-hearted love anymore. But you know what? Those people were living in the parameters I was trying to escape. And this is where I started to think that everything will work out for me. Like I focus on my faith and I focus on myself, the trust in myself and in something greater than myself. Being in that energy will change everything you're doing. Even though you don't get the results now, you trust that it will eventually work out. And slowly, these parameters started to change for me into what is not possible to what is possible. Like, I don't accept struggle as normal. I don't accept being broke as a spiritual path. I don't accept that toxic relationships are lessons. I kept myself in a cycle where everything felt like a struggle, and that was not fair to me. And that is where I realized I don't need to make my life unnecessarily hard for myself. It's unfair. So that is how I started to change these parameters. And I had to get so honest with myself. Like I had been wearing the struggles I had, like now I have something to share. Or when I was struggling with money, it was like, then I am spiritual enough. If I have more money, I'm not spiritual enough. Or I had made chaos romantic. I had made settling look like acceptance. But that wasn't acceptance. That was really fear in disguise as being spiritual. So real acceptance is accepting that you deserve everything you desire. Real acceptance is accepting that you are worthy of abundance, of love, of success, of happiness, not because you've healed enough, but because you just simply exist. And when I shifted my parameters from I have to earn my worth to I am worthy no matter what, everything changed. When I shifted from life is hard, because I've been there, everything was a struggle, to life supports me, opportunities started showing up everywhere. When I shifted from love is rare to love is abundant, I stopped accepting breadcrumbs from people who couldn't see my value. Change your parameters. So, how do you actually change your parameters? Because this isn't just positive thinking. If that would work, you wouldn't watch this video. This is a fundamental rewiring of what you believe is possible. First, you have to get honest about what your current parameters are. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm currently accepting as normal that I actually don't want in my reality? What situations do I keep attracting because I believe that is just how life is? Or you can ask yourself, what dreams am I not pursuing because I have decided they are unrealistic? Ask yourself, sit with yourself, write it down. So for me, I had to admit that I had accepted being anxious as my normal. I had accepted that struggling financially was somehow really authentic. I had accepted that being single as proof that I was maybe too much for anyone, but also that I would be more free by being single. But those weren't truths. Those were just parameters I had inherited and never ever questioned. So what did I do? I started declaring new parameters. And I mean declaring. I wasn't hoping, I wasn't wishing, I was stating it as a fact. It doesn't exist in my reality to be anxious about money. I feel supported in life. It doesn't exist in my reality to accept disrespect. I am treated with respect. It doesn't exist in my reality to dim my light for anyone. I shine fully and I attract people who celebrate that. And here is the thing. At first, your old parameters will still show up in your reality because it is your conditioning. Life will present you the same old situation over and over again. But here is where it gets really interesting. You get to choose. Do you fall back into your old parameters or do you hold firm to your new ones? Okay, and then spoiler alert, what will happen when you commit to these new parameters, when you stop accepting what doesn't serve you anymore, people who cannot match your new parameters, they start falling away. Opportunities that will align with your new standards start showing up. Your whole reality begins to reorganize itself because you declared for yourself what is possible. But here is what I need you to understand. This is not about being entitled or demanding. This is about knowing your worth and just not betraying it. It's about recognizing that you were never meant to live small, to live in fear. You were meant to live really fully, abundantly, authentically. And it's scary, but it's worth it. And yes, it is scary at first because you are going against everything you have been taught about being humble, about being grateful, about being realistic. But humility isn't about accepting less than you deserve. Gratitude isn't about settling for crumbs. Being realistic isn't about limiting yourself to what others believe is possible. So if you've been doing the inner work, but still living in the same reality, if you've been healing yourself to just fit into a life you don't even want anymore, if you've been accepting standards that were never yours to begin with, it is time to make a different choice. So stop trying to fix yourself, start changing your parameters, stop accepting what doesn't serve you, start declaring what does, and stop making yourself smaller just to fit into a smaller, limited reality. Because it's time to expand your reality to match your true size. And I know this for sure. Because if you're watching this, you're not here to live a mediocre life. You are definitely not here to accept whatever happens to you. You are not here to heal yourself into someone who can tolerate being treated poorly. You are here to live fully, to love deeply, to create boldly, and experience everything this life has to offer. Change your parameters, change your standards, change your life. So what is it that you are changing? What are your standards that you're finally changing? Leave it in the comments, okay? I hope this video resonates. Let me know if it does. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.